Coming up this Sunday, September 14th at 7:30 p.m. at the West End Cultural Center, Winnipeg's GroundSwell launches its 2025-26 season with a full-length feature work by acclaimed Canadian composer Nicole in a concert called Breakup Music. The featured piece, Karappo Okesutura Vol.3, brings together 11 onstage musicians with video, turntables, and electronics to conjure a karaoke machine gone haywire. Packed with iconic Canadian and Australian hits from artists like Olivia Newton-John, INXS, Hart, and Alanis Morissette, the work reimagines pop culture through Lisée's creative and inventive lens. Described as a brilliant musical scientist, Lizée is celebrated for seamlessly fusing multimedia with live performance. Her accolades include a Juno Award for Classical Composition of the Year, the 2019 Prix Opus for Composer of the Year, and major honors from the Canada Council for the Arts. She has collaborated with luminaries such as Howard Shore and the Kronos Quartet, and even composed music for the National Film Board of Canada. Breakup Music promises an unforgettable evening of sound and spectacle. And to give us a deeper look, I'm joined here over Zoom by Leanne Zacharias, cellist and curator for this concert and a past performer of this piece with the Australian Arts Orchestra. Hi, Leanne. Great to see you again here over Zoom.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So, firstly, can you talk about the significance of the name of this large-scale work, Karappo Okesutura Vol.3? What does it mean? And have you heard Volume 1 and Volume 2? And if so, what's it like? What's the significance of the title?
Yeah, so it means karaoke orchestra. And Karappo also means empty. I think the literal translation is empty, but it is used as a term for karaoke. The music is nothing, far from empty, that's for sure. So yeah, it refers to a karaoke orchestra. And, you know, typically if you go to sing karaoke somewhere, the backing tracks are logged in the computer and the only live performer is you singing along. But in this context, Nikki, the composer, has written out all the backing tracks for these pieces to accompany the singer, but it's for this amplified ensemble. There are two violas, cello, bass, clarinet, saxophone, electric guitar, two percussionists, piano, keyboard, and yes, turntables, electronics, harmonicas, shakers, pop rocks, candy, all sorts of surprises too.
And the work has a very definite Brandon connection. Nikki is a graduate of BU, and you're the cello professor at Brandon University. Can you talk about how you first met Nikki and how this collaboration came about?
Yeah, that's right. Nikki did complete her undergraduate degree here in music, but that was long before I started teaching here, of course. So we in fact met in Toronto when I was invited by the Music Gallery to play a concert of her works, and it was one of the projects that sort of was part of the genesis of this karaoke initiative in her writing. And so some of the material that's in this concert, I actually played at that time. So we met there and yeah, we kind of clicked aesthetically and also personally, just approach to music, approach to rehearsal, and preferences and style. So yeah, that was in maybe 2009, 2010, so quite a long time ago. And we've worked together quite a bit since. And she has been back to Brandon and Winnipeg in the last in that time, but not to present this piece. So certainly we're always really excited to get her back to Brandon.
And speaking of which, there's going to be a performance of this work in Brandon before it comes to Winnipeg, right? You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, exactly. So the GroundSwell concert is being co-presented by Brandon University and our concert series here, as well as the Brandon Chamber Players. So we're performing the concert here on Friday, and then in Winnipeg, the GroundSwell show is on Sunday night.
As I mentioned in the preamble, you were a cellist with the Australian Arts Orchestra, and you performed this work. How did you get connected with that ensemble?
So the Australian Art Orchestra is a really exciting, innovative group based in Melbourne, and they have worked with Nikki a lot. And after working with her on one of the prior karaoke projects, they secured funding for a big commission for this piece. And as I said, or as you said earlier, it's a concert length work. And it was fully commissioned by the Australian Art Orchestra. So the workshop process took place at the Banff Centre for Art and Creativity back in 2020. And because the music features a combination of Australian and Canadian pop culture icons and artists, they also wanted the band to reflect both Australian and Canadian musicians. So I was one of 4 or 5 North American musicians to join them in that process where we learned the material, workshopped it, and gave several premiere performances at that time.
Mm. Can you talk about that workshopping process? My understanding is Nikki's going to be doing some stuff with DJs or some electronics or some video. How do the musicians on stage interact with what Nikki's doing?
Well, her work is very tightly composed in that it's complex and it's a large ensemble, but there's no improvisation. So everything is very tightly, specifically notated. And we do all play to a click track. So the tempos are non-negotiable, if you will. And so that's really essential because of the multitude of elements going on at one time. It really does keep us all together, and it's what aligns the video and also pre-recorded electronics. You know, it's what keeps us all together. So there's no conductor, and we all do follow a click track.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk about the like electronic and like multimedia effects? Like what's the video like and what role does it play in the composition?
Well, I don't want to give everything away, but of course, Nikki works a lot with film and has been doing so increasingly over the last 10 years. And so the film work is all her work as well in this. And every song in this karaoke set list has a video. And in some cases, it's a newly created video by Nicole. In other cases, she has altered the original video for that pop song in the same way that she's altering the music. So we're hearing some of Alanis Morissette's music, but then of course it degrades and warps. And in the same way we see part of her video, but again, it's been altered and manipulated by Nicole.
Mm, sounds super interesting. So so now it's here in Brandon and Winnipeg. Can you talk about how you brought the musicians together for this performance? There's 11 musicians on stage. Can you talk about them and how they all came together?
Yeah. So many of the decisions about who to ask were really easy because there are a handful of players around our region who have worked with Nicole before and have familiarity with her playing and her style of composing. So that would include percussionists Ben Reimer and Eric Platz. They've both performed her work in the past and recorded it. Jennifer Thiessen, violist, has worked with her. Guitarist Steve Regley from Montreal has played a lot of her work and again was part of that premiere of the Karaoke Orchestra Vol.3. Singer Helen Pridmore has also worked with Nicole over the years. So, you know, it's a large country, but the new music community is pretty tight-knit and we tend to intersect at festivals and events from time to time. So a lot of us do know each other and many of them have worked with Nicole before. And then those who hadn't, you know, it's just high-level players from Winnipeg and Brandon and the region. You know, there were lots of options to choose from because there's a lot of great players. So we have several string players from the Winnipeg Symphony who are playing, which is fantastic, and a couple of BU alumni as well. Everett Hopfner and Sean Irvine are both alumni of the Brandon University School of Music, which is great, but both really involved in the new music scene in Winnipeg. So most of these faces will be familiar to the GroundSwell audience.
Mm-hmm. The performances out in Brandon and here in Winnipeg on Sunday at the West End Cultural Center sounds super excellent. What do you hope audiences will take away from seeing this very large scale production?
Well, there's a lot to pay attention to. There's a lot to take in because there are so many instruments, plus there are backing tracks, plus there's video. It's there's just a lot. It's a feast for the senses, really. But then there's also the element of nostalgia. If any of you and any of your audiences are familiar, or listeners of classic rock radio, or grew up in the 80s and 90s and are interested in that part of pop culture history, there's also the element of hearing a song that perhaps you haven't heard in a while. So that hit of dopamine when you hear something familiar. And that's part of the wonder of karaoke, right? Is, oh, they chose that song. How great. I love this song. But then the surprises, as Nicole's composition brings out these twists and turns that are really unexpected. It's as if a machine is glitching and warping or repeating in unexpected places, or it goes back, it rewinds, it fast forwards. It's really unpredictable. So I think there will be a combination of moments of familiarity, of recognizing a song or an artist, or maybe something you heard 5-10 minutes earlier, and then the surprise. So the surprise of everything she's added to them. So I guess it's a combination of enjoying the familiar, but also being on the edge of your seat.
Perfect. Leanne, this has been really terrific to have a chance to sit down with you and talk about Nicole Lisée's piece, Karappo Okesutura Vol.3. All the best in the concerts in Brandon and here in Winnipeg. And thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me today.
You bet. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the concert called Breakup Music, presented by Winnipeg's GroundSwell, takes place this Sunday, September 14th at 7:30 at the West End Cultural Center. For more details, go to gswell.ca or go to classic107.com. I've embedded a direct link to the show page in the article about the concert that you can find that's up there now. Leanne, thanks again.
You bet. Thanks.